Hey, everybody. I see you made us here at least already. Great to see you. All right, everybody. I want to wish you a warm welcome to today's webinar. Hopefully, there'll be a few more participants joining. We do have around 69 registrants for this webinar today, but it is right about time we get started. So today's theme is, of course, tips on studying abroad during the pandemic. From us at Asia Exchange, but of course also from a few students currently studying or students who have studied abroad during the pandemic through Asia Exchange. My name is Jonas Salam, the Sales and Relationship Manager. I'll be the host of today's webinar. The agenda for today is, first of all, go shortly over our policies during the pandemic. Next up, look at some new destinations that we have just launched, and also probably one of the most interesting parts for you guys going abroad in spring 2022 or looking to go abroad through us at any of our destinations. We'll be providing an outlook on the spring 2022 semesters and at all of our destinations and all of our partner universities. And last but not least, we'll be having a panel discussion with Asia Exchange students currently studying in Thailand and South Korea, as well as Marie, who has studied in Thailand for the spring 2021 semester. Please do post any questions you may have already right about now in the chat box. And if any come up during the presentation, feel free to post those as well. We'll try and make time at the end of this session to go through any questions you may have to either us at Asia Exchange or the panelists themselves. Yeah, so first of all, to recap our flexible policies during the pandemic, first of all, students have a chance of postponing without any extra costs, as long as, of course, their home universities are also fine with them postponing their semesters abroad. Next up, we're issuing full refunds on any cancellations up to 1 month before the semester start at any of our destinations, and we've also looked to extend the deadlines of applying to any of our destinations together with our host universities. So normally, for example, if you were to go through a bilateral agreement or an Erasmus agreement, you might need to already fix the date and actually confirm your study abroad placement around 6 months before the semester start. For us, the average is around 2 months for the destinations with more complicated visa processes or longer visa processes, and then up to 1 to 2 weeks for those destinations where the visa processes are non-existent or are very easy. Then, of course, we know that during the pandemic, it may be difficult to acquire some required documents to be accepted into some of these universities. So we have looked together with our host universities to also ease the document requirements to some of our programs. One thing we're doing is we are categorizing our destinations from levels 1 to 4, level 1 being the safe bet destinations, level 4 being the destinations we don't currently recommend for the upcoming semester, and we'll be going over those shortly. We've also expanded outside of Asia, so I am representing Asia Exchange, but we do also have a sister brand called Beyond Abroad, and we have just launched the beyondabroad.org website with all of our destinations outside of Asia, for example, in Latin America and Europe. We're also offering an exchange hub option. This is mostly for students who are still looking to go for an Erasmus exchange, for example, to a European university, but they're not able to travel there due to maybe travel restrictions. They're able to go to a physical place on our campus at our partner university, European University of Lisbon, use the campus facilities there, meet other exchange students, and study to their original host university if you're not able to travel to your original destination, whether through Asia Exchange or, for example, outside of our network. And just to quickly show you, of course, you can see the map here and the current pandemic situation around the world. We can see that definitely it's looking a lot better than it did 6 months ago. If we compare it here in my next slide, I hosted this similar type of webinar for the upcoming or the students who are currently abroad during the autumn semester, and this was the situation back then. So definitely the world has learned something in the process, and I'm sure that the vaccination procedures and the issuance of these has helped quite a bit. Before we go into the different categories of destinations, I do want to mention that we do have new destinations in Asia. Also outside of Asia, we're looking for more destinations for the upcoming year. And currently, we have just expanded in South Korea and Latin America. The first of these partners is Dong-A University. We know that South Korea has been extremely trending despite the pandemic. They've been also handling the pandemic situation very well. And Seoul has been a popular destination among students. So we decided why not diversify our portfolio in South Korea as well. And we are currently partnered with Dong-A University for the upcoming spring semester located in Busan, South Korea. And we're starting off with bachelor level courses. The semester dates are basically the same as they are with any South Korean university. The upcoming spring semester starting in March, ending late June. And yeah, currently only bachelor level courses in business and management. Hopefully we'll be able to expand this portfolio in the future. If you don't know where Busan is, it's basically actually closer to the border of Japan than it is to Seoul. So located in the southernmost tip of South Korea, a little bit different to Seoul as a destination, which is a big metropolis. This is a city on the beach, good surfing opportunities, good beaches, good seafood, and it's the second biggest city in all of Korea. And Dong-A University, similarly, for example, those of you going to Hankuk University of Foreign Studies or thinking of studying there, a very international university hosting around 33 plus nationalities. Next up in Latin America, we are partnered with Cienfuegos University in Cuba. We just launched this a couple of months ago. This is the sixth best ranked university in all of Cuba out of 60 universities. Also the fastest growing university in Cuba with both bachelor and master level courses available for the upcoming spring semester. If you're an engineering student, you're studying economics and management, marketing, computer science, you name it, you can find it here. So definitely a good choice for students to think about if you do not have a choice in mind already. And at this point, before we go into the categorization, I'd actually like to launch a poll here. We are also expanding outside of Asia as well as in Asia. And I'd like to ask if you were to go and study abroad right now, and you would have to choose one of these destinations in this poll, which destination would you choose? I'll give you 30 more seconds. Awesome. Looks like there's people joining in a little bit late here. 38 answers so far out of 46. But I think we will end the poll here so we can move on. And I will share the results with you guys. So it does seem like Japan is the clear winner here. And we have good news for those interested in Mexico, because we are currently in talks to also have a partnership there, hopefully for the upcoming spring semester. If not, then for autumn 2022. But thank you so much for answering at this point. I think it's time to move on in our presentation. And we'll start off with the pandemic situation and category 1 destinations. And category 1 destinations, as I mentioned, are the safe bet destinations for spring 2022. And these are destinations where teaching is partially on campus or has been held effectively online. And the pandemic situation has been generally under control during the whole duration of the pandemic. Traveling into these countries is possible with small to no restrictions at all. The first of these is South Korea, which hosts Hanyang University, Hankuk University of Foreign Studies, and Dong-A University. They do have strict immigration procedures. This means they have a 2-week quarantine in place, and it's mandatory for all students entering the country. They're doing effective testing and tracing. You will need to download the quarantine safety app when entering the country, and this is used to keep track of you and make sure that students are actually staying in quarantine during the whole duration of quarantine in Korea. You'll hear probably more about that from Umeda soon. And class organization in South Korea is depending on the alert level. So they're being very flexible with the organization of classes, whether those are hybrid, online, or offline. Currently, the alert level there, to my knowledge, is alert level 4, which is the highest alert level in the country. It's important to note that alert level 4 in current times is a lot less severe than it was, for example, a year ago. But despite that, all classes are currently being held online. If the pandemic or the alert level does go down, then the class organization may change to hybrid or even fully on campus. Next, we do have Costa Rica, where no quarantine is required and there are literally no restrictions in place on arrival. We did hear from our contact in an earlier webinar last week that the case numbers in Costa Rica have just peaked, but they're now currently decreasing, meaning that's most probably come the spring 2022 semester, this will be the perfect time to enter the country. And classes are, of course, still currently online, just because ULASIT, our partner in Costa Rica, does not want to take any risks during the pandemic and cause, for example, an outbreak. They'd rather effectively host them online, which they've been doing since the beginning of the pandemic. Next, we have Sardinia, Italy. This Sardinia in Italy has been marked as a white zone since last May. And what this means is that they are getting under 50 cases per, I think it was 100,000 inhabitants there currently, and definitely on the lower end of risk in terms of the pandemic. And currently, if you do have a proof of vaccination, there's no quarantine required for you. You are required to also fill in a passenger locator form, and you are depending on the country you're arriving from, required to also do a PCR test 48 hours before arrival. The proof for the passenger locator form, this is mostly needed for students arriving from EU countries. If you do not have any proof of vaccination, do not have the PCR test, there's a 5-day quarantine currently in place that is mandatory. And our partner there, University of Cagliari, is hosting classes in a hybrid model at the moment. Next up, we have Lisbon in Portugal. They're currently allowing essential and non-essential travel into the country. And also, depending a little bit on what country arrival is from, quarantine may be required. Currently, after I've checked this, it is not required from EU countries. And classes are actually currently for the autumn semester being held on campus. And we are, of course, hoping that this situation remains the same for the upcoming spring 2022 semester. For Dublin, Ireland, there is a negative PCR test requirement 72 hours before arrival, or a proof of vaccination. There's currently no mandatory quarantine in place, but classes are being held online. And all these countries are generally countries that are facing very low case numbers. I would say the exception here at the moment is Costa Rica, but nonetheless, we expect those case numbers to be extremely low come the spring semester, making it even safer to travel into the country. And these have also been countries that are super popular during the pandemic. I think South Korea being the best exception. We're actually sending a record amount. We have just sent a record amount of students there for this autumn semester that just started a couple of weeks ago. So just over 200 students studying there at the moment. Then we move on to category number 2. These are destinations where COVID is still a little bit more prevalent. There might be strict measures on campus or in the country, and classes are mostly online. The first of these is Cuba, where our new host university, Cienfuegos University, is located. Travel is possible into the country. There's a 14-day quarantine and PCR test requirement. But transport is operational inside the country, but there are some restrictions regarding this as to where you are able to travel to. There may be curfews in place, meaning transport may not always be operational, for example, at certain times of the day, and classes are being held online at Cienfuegos University. And we've placed this in category 2 because they're also currently facing a growing number of cases. Then we have Thailand, where we have Kazetsart University, Prince of Songkla University, and UTCC University. If you have applied to Siam University and your home university is fine with you changing, we highly recommend you do change from Siam to one of these other choices. Of course, you are still open to pursue your application to Siam University. So if there's any applicants to this university, please be sure to check out the other choices available, as we are not actively promoting Siam University for the spring 2022 semester. But yeah, regarding Thailand, there are strict immigration procedures in place. It's been placed in category 2 because initially Bangkok is closed for travel. So students are recommended to arrive directly into the 2 sandboxes, as the Thai authorities like to call them. These are Phuket or Samui, and they act as kind of quarantine zones where students are able to, and or any traveler basically is able to travel to. And basically on arrival, you would have to book, or before arrival, of course, you would have to book a 14-day stay at pre-designated SHA hotels in these sandboxes. So either in Phuket or Samui, stay there for 14 days, after which travel is possible. And during your 14-day stay at these hotels in either sandbox, you're able to also travel inside these sandboxes, so Phuket or Samui. With a proof of vaccination is the proof of vaccination is required to enter these sandboxes. So do make sure that you have both vaccinations taken and a proof of vaccination if you do want to undertake the sandbox option when entering the country. Also, upon entry, a COVID-19 insurance is currently required. There's also the alternative state quarantine if you do not want to enter the sandbox, but this is a more strict, how do I call it? More strict quarantine for you. It's a 14-day quarantine, for example, in Bangkok, but you are not allowed to leave your hotel room. You're not allowed to go outside. So in that sense, we do highly recommend the sandbox option instead of the ASQ option. And classes are currently being held online at all of our host universities in Thailand. Next up, we have very positive news from Malaysia. Just a couple of days ago, we were actually expecting Malaysia to be closed for the upcoming spring 2022 semester, but currently University Putra Malaysia, our partner there, has informed us that the borders will be open for spring 2022 and visas will be issued for students, for exchange students specifically coming into the country for spring 2022. And we are expecting that UPM in Malaysia will offer online classes. We do not have any information yet regarding the travel regulations, the visa procedures, if there's any extra requirements regarding those. So we will be informing all students who have applied to UPM or are looking to apply to UPM once we have any additional info. This is very fresh for us as well as UPM. So more info on that incoming soon. Moving on, we have the category 3 destinations where teaching is fully online and travel restrictions and visa restrictions are in place, meaning students are not able currently to travel into these countries, but it is possible to do online studies from outside the destination. And these are strictly Bali, where we have Warmadeva University, the WIP, so the Warmadeva International Program, and Udayana University. No visas are currently being issued for students going to Bali, but online classes are being offered by the 2 universities here in their respective programs. It's important to note that Bali is also showing lots of positive signs, and we expect that this might actually change for the upcoming spring semester, and Bali may be placed already during the autumn semester or latest when the spring semester starts into category 2 or category 1. And visa issuance will already be open. So of course, we're going to inform all applicants regarding the developments in Bali as soon as we know more. Then we've got China and Shanghai University. China is still closed for travel, but Shanghai University is offering online classes to those students who want to study, for example, from home or travel somewhere else to another destination abroad and study from there. Then we have the category 4 destinations. These are universities or destinations where no courses are being offered online and travel is not possible. And these universities are the following. So first of all, the Warmadeva Academy programs, if you are looking to apply to the Bali Business Academy, Influencer Academy, or Green Academy programs, unfortunately, those are very practical oriented. a lot of the studies happen outside of the classrooms. You go and visit local entrepreneurs. And because it's not possible to travel to Bali currently, we do not want to open this program online, as we believe that the quality of the program would, of course, suffer, and are looking to open it once it is safe to travel to Bali and the borders are open. Next up, we have Taiwan and Xi'an University. The borders have been closed since the start of the pandemic, and no online courses are being offered. Unfortunately, the pandemic situation has been under control during the whole duration of the pandemic because the borders have been closed. And currently there have been talks of opening up for spring 2022. So again, this is another destination that could jump up to category 2 or 3 for the upcoming spring semester, but we have no further news to provide as of yet. Next up, we have Vietnam, where Foreign Trade University is located. For those of you interested or who have applied to Foreign Trade University, this destination has been closed since March 2020, and they have been opening up for essential businesses. They do have a vaccination protocol rolling out for locals, but they have not been open for student mobility, and they do not offer online classes for any students looking to study from another destination to FTU online. Before we get into our panel discussion today, this is our webinar calendar for this upcoming autumn semester. And if you're interested in studying abroad during the 2022 semester or have applied, be sure to check out our different webinars. If you're interested in a certain destination or have applied to a certain destination, then it's good to still register into one of these webinars, for example, for the Bali specific one, Latin America specific one, or South Korea specific one, to hear further updates closer to the start date of the semester. And our last webinar for this autumn actually also includes a follow-up on our current webinar that's being held by me right now, where we kind of go over the last minute updates on every destination, similarly to how we're doing it right now. But yeah, at this point, I'd like to welcome our panelists here today. So we should have Umeida Hoffman, currently studying at HUFS in South Korea, online with me. Aino Korhonen, with a little bit of a different situation, studying online to Udayana University from Phuket. And then Marie Bodnar, who studied at Siam University in Bangkok during spring 2021. Welcome, are you guys here?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Awesome, great to have you. First of all, how are you guys?
It's great here.
Hi, I'm good. My internet connection is really bad, so if I suddenly don't talk, that's why.
No worries, no worries. I think Aino is here with us as well, but she's currently muted. Aino, are you here as well?
Yes, I'm here.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, I mean, well, we have two students who are currently abroad. Aino, you're in a little bit of an interesting situation, studying to Bali, I guess, waiting for the borders to Bali opening up, hopefully already this autumn, and studying from Phuket. So talk to me a little bit about why you decided to pursue your studies online from Phuket and what the experience was like also entering the country.
Yeah, I actually got the positive news just like an hour ago that Bali has opened the borders now for certain visas.
Okay.
So, but I decided to go to Phuket because I kind of like wanted to have the experience abroad. And also it felt comfortable to kind of like wait somewhere closer to get to Asia when it's possible to get to Bali. So now it's easier because I'm not too far away to go there either. And I didn't kind of have too much expectations because there wasn't too much reviews on how things are in Phuket at the moment. But my experience has been super positive because even the sad side is that there's not so many tourists. Still, you can kind of like experience Phuket in a way that you never had the chance before. There's empty beaches, and even if it's a rainy season, the weather has been quite nice for a Finnish person who's been freezing in Finland. And also the studies at Udayana University, it's really easily like done. So the online courses are going on well and the timetables are good. So yeah, I've enjoyed so far.
Yeah, and it's probably easier also studying from Phuket, where the time difference is a little bit better than if you were, for example, at a European destination or back home in Finland.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And what about Marie? So you spent your last semester in Bangkok. Would you say your experience was the same? So empty or close to empty city, no, big rush hours and easier to get by in terms of traveling.
Yeah, I really share her point of view. Actually, my cousin lives in Bangkok, and he was always like sharing these photos of traffic and everything. And when I got there, I thought I was lying. I was like, "What? There's no traffic. There's no one." And especially on going on islands where like the scenery is just incredible, and the fact that there are no people, no pollution too is like so great, and we feel really privileged to feel this and to experience this, because actually it's a sad situation, but we kind of found like a good a good point of view in this. So
Yeah, I think silver linings there for sure. And I think, Marie, you didn't get to experience the sandbox type of entry into the country, right? So when you went abroad, Bangkok was open, if I remember correctly.
yes, it was.
Yeah. So for Aino, then maybe a question here. I think you currently entered the Phuket sandbox, I think a couple of weeks ago already, since if I remember correctly, the Udayana University semester started in the beginning of September. So could you talk us through how that process went?
The sandbox process was pretty easy. You just need to certain documents to enter, but also it's not a real quarantine, as you kind of like you have to stay in the room for the first day after your flight till you get the result for the PCR test. And I got it around 4 hours. And after that, I was free to explore the island. And then you have 2 more swab tests to done during the 2 weeks, where you have to stay in a certain hotels, and the hotels are pretty nice that you can pick from. And after the 2 weeks you're free basically, but it doesn't feel like you're forced to be inside or something. You can just do anything besides like just to stay in the same hotel.
Got it.
So it's easy if you have the documents for it, and the documents are pretty easy to get as well.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we at Asia Exchange hope to help all the students out for the upcoming spring semester to get these documents and give you good instructions on those as well. Where are you staying right now, actually?
Actually, I moved out the hotel because I finished the 2 weeks. Yay, I'm free, and I'm staying at the apartment at the moment. And now at least the prices are pretty cheap too, so you can find nice places in cheap prices.
Got it. That's great to hear. I think we do have Umeida online at the moment as well. Fixing your camera there a little bit, but that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And you're in South Korea at the moment. What's the situation
Yeah,
there
I
like?
am. Well, there's a lot of restrictions, but it's not anything that affects you that much. Like everything's open. I mean, of course, there's like some limits to how many people you can be and stuff, but it's not as bad as it says online. Like you can still do everything. Classes are online, of course, but I think they will be soon offline. So it's getting better slowly.
Yeah, exactly. And to my knowledge, if I remember correctly, for example, the way it goes with HOOFs and Hanyang universities, if the alert level goes down to 3, classes with below 50 students will be held offline, and then any classes that host over 50 students will be held online. So offline under 50, online over 50, if I remember correctly, for alert level 3. So let's hope that for this autumn it does go down there. And I think usually from my experience also being in the coordination team for our South Korean partners, we get a lot of inquiries from students and worried students specifically talking about the complicated entry into South Korea. But what was your experience entering the country and also with the quarantine?
I mean, for me, I think it was fine. Like it's a long process when you land because the immigration takes quite a while, but it's also because there's so many people. Like I think for me it took about like 3 hours, but like that was the most extreme case because we were so many people. And like they help you with everything. They like, first of all, you have to show your tests and stuff, and then you have to download different apps which they will help you with, and they need to know where you're staying, so that's why it's a bit of a long process.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's totally doable. And then they even help you with like which district you're gonna go to, if you have to take taxi or bus and so on. And with my quarantine, actually, it was really fine because I'm not staying at the dorm. I found my own apartment, and I've just been in quarantine here, so it was fine. Like I could walk around in the apartment, so it wasn't as bad as you think.
All right. Did you end up staying? Do you have a quarantine? The apartment. Do you have it alone, or do you have it with any other students? Because I have heard that other students have also quarantined together, or even gotten an apartment together for the whole semester.
Yeah. Wait. Sorry. Do you see me? Like my.
I think we see the your laptop at the moment.
Oh. Okay.
No worries.
Because
There we go.
my computer died, so I'm on my phone. Okay. What about
No worries.
now? You see me now?
No, actually the other way around. So I think you did just press something that now we see your laptop.
So you still
again.
Oh my god. And now?
There we go. Now we see you. Now we see you. Awesome.
Okay. Sorry. Like
No
I'm on
worries.
my phone.
No worries.
What did you ask? Oh, if I was with students. Actually, I have 2 roommates. But I mean, they were pretty chill about me walking around because like I'm vaccinated. They are also. So it really depends on who or where you're staying, because I mean they didn't mind, so it was fine.
Yeah. And I think if we were to walk through the process of arriving in Korea, I guess overall you would first go through the customs and immigrations, then you would come to the checkpoint where they help you download the app if you haven't downloaded it beforehand. I guess if I remember correctly, they also do a quick swab test, and of course you're hoping it's negative. After that, you go to the checkpoint where you're supposed to show them your quarantine residence address, and they might ask you for the contact person of your quarantine residence,
Yeah.
after which the special transport takes you to the quarantine residence, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was exactly like that.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. So it's still the same. Very efficient.
Yeah. But I mean,
All right.
I didn't get tested in the airport, but it was because I came so late, so they were closed. So I did it the next day.
Got it. Okay. And what about Aino, now that you're kind of free in Phuket to travel? Do you have any plans, or have you already been able to travel around Thailand during your studies?
For now, I've only stayed in Phuket because I kind of like wait the Bali situation, since it was on the edge of opening or not. So I decided to stay here. I didn't even know Phuket is this big, and there's actually a lot to see here too. I always thought it's smaller, but I've explored the island a lot. It's good to have a scooter, a motorbike, or whatever to go around. And now that the traffic isn't bad, it's pretty chill to drive as well.
Got it.
There's a lot to see here too.
Are there a lot of restrictions in place in terms of travel, or are there close to none?
Inside Thailand, they have like the different colored zones. So you need some documents to enter some places. And also it just recently was like freely done that you can leave the Phuket sandbox and come back as well. Because before you couldn't come back. That's also why I stayed here. But now you're free to go. You usually need just the sandbox release paper, and then you can go to the other places too.
Got it. Marie, do you have any experience traveling around Thailand, or any tips, for example, from Bangkok or other areas in Thailand for Aino?
Yeah, actually, it was really hard for me to travel within Thailand at that time, because it was the beginning of Thailand being, I would say when it was really critical in Europe, it was very fine in Thailand, and the opposite went around. Then it was really critical in Thailand, and so easier in Europe. So when I went there, it was pretty fine, but then at the moment it started to get tougher. So yeah, it was really hard to find information in English. So I was using Google Translate all the time with Thai, because I couldn't speak it, and I was trying to find the information in Thai. But we had also that very nice guy in the conversation offline, the app. So he was always helping us because he's a local. So he was always helping us to know the information and how to go to another province, because depending on the provinces, then you can go or you cannot, or you need papers or you need documents or whatever. So yeah, I would say that at my time it was really easy, but then it got a little bit more complicated, but it was still easy to go. And yeah, the harder was to find information in English, but it was when you know the little tips to go to Google Translate or to know locals, then it's just easier.
Got it. Yeah, exactly. Definitely true. What about Umeida in terms of the studies we heard from? I know that Udayana University is hosting the online studies pretty efficiently. What's the situation for HOOFs? I think they've been hosting them predominantly online during the pandemic. They have had a few hybrid classes when the alert levels have gone down, but I think currently they're fully online. So how's that working out?
It's totally fine. Like when you choose your classes, you can see which days they are. So as long as you don't take the same classes like on the same day, it's fine. Like I think I have 3 classes and they're all on different days, and it works totally fine online.
Right. And for Aino, I think it's a little bit easier, or it was a little bit easier to register for the Udayana courses, as that's done with the help of Asia Exchange. But for you, Umeida, you had to go through the HOOFs course registration process. So how did you find that?
Well, that was a mess. Like it was so bad, but it's because I'm a visiting student and not an exchange. So for me, it was a different process. I had to write my teachers and ask for permission to join their class, but this is just like a formality. And then I needed to show their answers to the office in order for them to register it. But when I got the answers from my teachers, I just went to the office and they just registered me, and it took like 2 minutes. So like if you know what to do, then it's fine. But because it was so confusing, we didn't know if I was a graduate student or what was I. So it was a mess, but it turned out fine.
Got it. Yeah, and I think well, I don't know if you use the online course registration at all,
Yeah.
but there are 2 rounds for course registration for HOOFs. Yeah, and we do want to stress at Asia Exchange that it is very competitive for exchange students in Korea normally, because you are competing for the same courses with local Korean students, and you are on a different time zone, so it may be difficult, and you might actually need to enroll for courses during the middle of the night, for example, through the online portal. But for those of you going to HOOFs, I do have good news in terms of the course registration. They actually are a little bit more flexible for visiting and exchange students than they are for the local students. So the local students have certain days, depending on what their current study year is, to enroll for courses for each semester, whereas for visiting and exchange students, the courses are available every day of the week during the course registration rounds. And usually what they do is they open up the placements for the courses little by little, so a few placements per day. So it is good to be there when the course registration opens on the first day during the first round, as the case with the second round as well. What about any type of apps or general tips for Korea? I know that Kakao Talk is kind of the WhatsApp of Korea, but do you have any other maybe general tips, or for example, tips for the on what to do during quarantine, or good apps to use maybe for food delivery, things like this?
Well, there's the quarantine app, but this will be downloaded in the airport because they help you with that. But you can also just download it before you come. But but they help you with that. And also because one of my roommates is Korean, so she sent me a lot of stuff for what I needed. But for food delivery, there's because most of it is in Korean, but there's an app called Shuttle. In English, just Shuttle, and it's all in English, and it's super easy. Like I use it every day when I needed food, so that I recommend to download. And yeah, of course, Kakao Talk, but that's not like a necessity. You can always download that later when you start to go out. And also there's an app called Coupang, also written in English. It is in Korean, but it's pretty doable. It's basically like Amazon, just much easier and much faster. Like if I need something, let's say groceries or paper, whatever, I can order it today and it will come tomorrow. So that I also used. And what else? Yeah, I think during quarantine it was actually just shuttle I used for food.
All right.
And then of course, yeah.
Did you study any Korean during quarantine, or did you study that before?
I studied it like for a year before because
got it.
but I just wanted to be prepared, which I also recommend people to study just a little bit before you come, because I mean they speak English, but it's not that good. So it's like just the basic words. But if not, there's like you can learn it here also. But like my quarantine, I don't even remember what I did. Probably because I didn't do much. But yeah, just chilling and eating.
Yeah, and I think, well, because previous semesters, I think there's been students who have during quarantine, they've studied Korean, or they've done some networking with other Asia exchange students, or then they've just watched Netflix. So I think it just depends on what you want to do. And
yeah.
Yeah. What about any tips for Thailand in general? Maybe you were expecting to make it to Bali and you were thinking of studying a little bit of Bahasa Indonesian, but did you learn the local language for Thailand, or any general tips there?
Well, yeah, I think it's always good to have like the basic words, thank you, and all those, just to be polite. And it's pretty easy in Thai as well. It's been a bit kind of like a mixture to learning Indonesian and learning Thai here. But they have like for the food online, they have the Grab Food and Food Panda, which are good apps to have. So you can order food easily, and there's some other stuff too. And you need an application upon arrival to Thailand, but they'll help you with it. Other tips than that, just I'd say that enjoy now that it's kind of like less touristic in Thailand, because usually it's much more crowded.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Should we get into the questions as well here? So I could read some of these out. Lena Kaldi asks, semester for spring 2022 in Hanyang, it's authorized only for exchange students who are actually in a university. Thank you. Yeah, so if you're a gap year student, due to visa issuance being suspended for gap year students, it is only currently most likely available for students currently enrolled in a university. The gap year, unfortunately, will most likely not be available for spring 2022. I go to Costa Rica in January. Do you think it's possible that classes are hybrid in January? Anais asked this. Definitely likely. However, we do know that Ulasit has very much liked their online classes. They've been hosting them extremely efficiently. They have very good systems in place for the online classes. So if they feel that there is any type of risks regarding the pandemic, I'm sure that's then in that case, they will be held online in Costa Rica in January. Semester for spring 2022 in Hanyang. How does the Asia Exchange help financing tests, etc. designated facilities? I'm not really sure what you're asking here, but if you're asking, for example, for designated quarantine facilities, currently, I think Umeida can confirm that you do need to book your quarantine facility by yourself. If you are going to HOOFs specifically, normally students would look at, for example, Airbnb, Goshiwons. There's a few hostels that offer the quarantine rooms, for example. If you're a Hanyang student, what they've done for the past 2 semesters is they have actually had one dorm available at either their university or a partner university in Seoul, as was the case for this autumn semester, where there's dorms available for students to quarantine in. So for Hanyang students, you are able to, most probably for spring 2022, also get quarantine dorms through the university, through Hanyang University as well. Unfortunately, HOOFs has not been offering this option for mobility students. And yeah, of course, we'll help you with all the information regarding any type of facilities available, any options you may have, and you're going to receive information from Hanyang University regarding the quarantine dorms, if those are in place for the upcoming semester as well. Yeah, then there is there any refunding I didn't get accepted after applying for Asia if I didn't get accepted after applying for Asia exchange? So basically, as long as you have the required documents to apply, there is no reason why you would not get accepted to study abroad through us at any of our destinations. Let's see what else we have here. Shmaila had the exact same question as Darren, just for Hankook University. So for the quarantine facilities, those are payable by yourself. Maybe Umeida, you can pitch in here. How much did quarantine cost for you?
I'm actually not sure, because depending on what I ordered, like it was different prices, but I just paid the deposit for my apartment, which was like 500,000 won. I don't know how much it is in euros, but it's pretty, like, because I found this apartment, which was really nice and cheap, so I didn't pay so much for the place. But I think I paid like a lot for food, but I ate a lot. Like I ordered maybe 3 times a day. So it depends on how much you want to spend on food. But I didn't bring anything like granola bars, spaghetti, like these kind of stuff. I didn't bring them, so that's why I had to order so much. But if you bring that, you can totally save a lot, just like eating rice or plain meals. So it depends on which quarantine place you find and how expensive it is and the food.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
It's like,
yeah, and I think like generally for Airbnbs for 2 weeks in Seoul, you can expect that they'll cost in between 300 to 400 euros, I think. And it's important to note that you are able to book a quarantine residence with other students. The official regulations in South Korea currently state, for example, if you go to the HOOF's pre-arrival guide, it states that each person in a quarantine residence in South Korea is required to have their own bedroom and their own bathroom. I personally know that students have not been abiding by this quarantine regulation always. So in that case, if you do want to take the risk there and, for example, book with a group of friends, save some money at an Airbnb, you are able to do so. Please do take note of the quarantine regulations when booking. And of course, if you do not take those into account, the risk is on the students themselves. And actually, I'd like to ask here for Aino, how much did quarantine cost for you? And Marie, if you stayed in quarantine for spring, how much did you have to pay?
My quarantine was one of the cheapest ones. I think the cheapest one you can get for 2 weeks is around 200 euros. This one was 400, but I wanted in like the specific location, and I think all the places are like 3, 4, 5 stars, so it's pretty affordable, and you get the breakfast in it as well. So I think 400 for 2 weeks is all right.
Got it. Yeah. What about Marie?
And I have paid a lot. It was like the second cheapest I have chosen, because the first one was unavailable because it was full already, and I have paid 800 something for 2 weeks or so, with all the meals included. But yeah.
And I think that's quite a lot, actually. So I think you're a little bit exceptional there, because we have heard that students have paid, I would say 1/4 of that amount. So of course, it depends a little bit on the budget that you have available and how much you're willing to spend. But I think in both countries, for example, you'd be able to find quite a range of different options available.
And I think it was also like the beginning for Thailand to put this into practice. So yeah, I think they were not maybe used to it, but Anna is way luckier than I was.
Got it. Yeah. When do we get, I'll just move on here. Thanks for the answers there, input on Thailand as well. But moving on, as there are quite a few questions, when do we get to choose courses for the bachelor programs at Hankook University? Because you can only choose really specific ones that fit your bachelor in Switzerland. Katharina, I would answer here that actually South Korean universities generally release their final course lists around a week before the first course registration starts, and the first round of course registration is 1 month before the semester starts. So I would highly recommend that, for example, if you need to sign have a learning agreement signed, you check our website for the HOOF's course lists, and there's a separate link to the portal where you can find the courses. Check the spring 2021 courses, because usually those don't change a lot, and choose courses from the list to your learning agreement that would that you would be able to get accredited and validated by your home university, because otherwise you'll be able to only fill in the learning agreement quite late, up to 1 month before the semester starts, because those lists unfortunately are not available to us or HOOFs before, or Hanyang for that matter, before the course registration starts. Why is Siam University not being recommended for spring 2022? Well, I wouldn't say that we're not recommending it. We are just not actively promoting it anymore. We do have so many partners in Thailand that students are kind of spoiled for choice, and we feel like they're having sometimes a hard time choosing certain universities, and instead we'd like to have a fewer amount of universities and have more study abroad, and more students going to these fewer amount of universities, and have more universities and have, let's say, 5 students per university, where we could have maybe 10 to 20 students per university if there were fewer universities available. And it's important to note that, for example, Kazakhstan and UTCC, which are our alternative choices in Bangkok, are higher ranked than, for example, Siam University. And there's nothing wrong with Siam University, and we do recognize that it's probably the most renowned university in all of Thailand. Darren is going to Hanyang in spring 2022. My university at home country wants me to show specific written exams with marks and not just visiting the course, just attending. How do the credit procedures at Asia Exchange work? Will there be written exams for each courses? I think that Umeda can confirm that there are written exams, for example, at HOOFs and in general for South Korean universities, and you will receive a transcript of records that will be delivered to you at the end of your semester by Asia Exchange, with all the grades written for each course that you have completed or not completed. Where can I find the courses with time and day of the classes from UTCC? Those should be actually linked on our website, so you should be able to go there, check the courses and studies section, and you should be able to find the course lists there. Do you know if the quarantine for South Korea will still be there in spring 2022, because the quarantine is very expensive? Well, it's been there for the whole duration of the pandemic, ever since it started, so we do expect it to still be there for the upcoming spring 2022 semester. Kato is in quarantine in South Korea right now, and saw on the news that they might be lifting it in late October. Okay, so this is news to us as well, and actually that's great news from Kato, so thanks for the info there. Will the hotel for Thailand in quarantine be assigned to you, or can you choose which one you want to stay at, since quarantine can get pretty expensive? So maybe I know you can walk us through that. Was the hotel assigned to you? And Marie as well, you can pitch in, or did you have to choose one by yourself?
You can choose yourself. There's multiple hotels you can choose from, and different price groups as well. So there's a lot of choices.
Yeah, same here. As long as the government was recommending those hotels, then you could have chosen any of them.
Yeah, exactly. And if you are going to the sandboxes, all you need to do is Google SHA Hotels Thailand, and you'll find a list of hotels. If you do not want to use a sandbox to enter, then you can check for ASQ, which was the alternative state quarantine available for students not entering the sandbox, and find accommodation that way. Is there any help for accommodation for students who got accepted to Korea? Most students have been very independent, so to say, so they've been able to book their quarantine by themselves. Of course, we do have a small list that we share before the semester starts on options you can choose from. And we do have the Facebook group that we invite students closer to the start date of the semester to, and you're able to, for example, post there for quarantine buddies if you're looking to, for example, quarantine with a group of people, for example, arriving into Korea at the same time, even from the same destination. So definitely use the Facebook groups that we will be inviting you to later this autumn. And Kato's there with the tourist visa, so he is in the government hotels, but to my knowledge, at least for the duration of the pandemic, the government hotels have not been available for students in Korea. So those have been bookable. Those have to be bookable by the students themselves, and the quarantine hotels are not available for the students, or have not been available for the students at least. How expensive is to stay in quarantine? Approximately, I think we just heard from Umeida regarding that. And Shmaila Ahmad asks, how did you find the apartment, Umeida?
I saw, like, I searched on Facebook for like apartments in Seoul, and I just what's it called? Yeah, joined one of the groups, and people were updating daily about apartments they're renting or share houses and stuff. Like, you can find any group on Facebook and just see what they post. And then I saw my roommate that she posted that, oh, she had a room. And then I talked to her, and that's how I got my room. But there's a lot to choose from, and quite cheap also, with like no deposit and stuff. So I would recommend checking on Facebook.
Got it. By the way, I think one thing we have not discussed is also the visa process for both of these countries. So maybe Umeida, if you could start, how did you find that process, and how long did it take you to get a visa for South Korea?
Well, I found it quite easy, because they said if you just have your documents ready, you will get it. Because like I went to the embassy and I just gave him the documents which the school sent me and which you, like Asia Exchange, sent me, and I just had to fill out one form and of course pay a fee, and he just told me like, oh, it'll be ready in 2 weeks. Like there was no problem. It was quite easy.
Got it. Yeah. And actually, so the three documents you're most probably going to need are the certificate of admissions, the business registration certificates, and the letter of acceptance. And these are all delivered to you by Asia Exchange after you have all your required documents in order, closer to the start date of the semester, around latest 2 months before the semester starts. But of course, because it is the pandemic times, we are looking to issue these a lot earlier than that for most students. What about Aino coming into the country, and Marie as well? I think Aino, you didn't apply maybe for a student visa since you're actually studying to Udayana University, but it's a little bit different for you and Marie.
Yeah, I didn't need a visa. There's certain countries you can enter to Thailand and you don't need a visa for it. And now they extended also that you can stay 45 days and extend it again and again because of the 2 weeks quarantine. But I know people have applied for student visa and it's pretty efficient. And then you need the certificate of entry, which you get from the local embassy. It took me 2 days to get it, so it's pretty fast.
Got it. What about Marie for the student visa?
Yeah, mine, I went to the embassy for the visa, and the woman told me that they were not delivering any visas. So I got home and I called them to have like a document attesting that, claiming that it was actually being refused to me to get refunded from my quarantine and everything. But actually, she told me that it was now available and that I could get a visa. So as I was, I think, one of the first ones to get there, I got my visa like 2 days later, and same for the certificate of entry. I think I got it probably like within a day, so it was really quick, and that was actually like relieving to know that I had my visa and everything on time.
Yeah, exactly. Great to hear. And of course, I just want to note here that Asia Exchange does not issue any visas, so those are done by the local embassies in your home countries. We do have contact with most embassies in Europe, especially in our biggest sending countries like Germany, Sweden, and France. So we are able to contact them on your behalf, but we are not responsible for the visa issuance. So that's good for you guys to also take into account. Christina asks, what's the difference between visiting an exchange student? It's just two different terms that the Koreans use. Visiting students are usually students arriving outside of their university's network, meaning they're not arriving through bilateral agreements or Erasmus Plus exchanges. They're arriving through, for example, Asia Exchange. So as an Asia Exchange student, you will be a visiting student. However, you will still be applying for the D2 student visa. So basically, it's something that you really don't need to worry about whether you're a visiting or exchange student. Brian's asking if Umeida, you could still go through the apps that you're using when staying in Korea, if you could recap those.
Yeah, there's Shuttle. It's the English one. And then there's also a Korean one, but I don't remember the name, and I'm scared that if I go out of the app, it will shut down. But like, I had the Korean app, but I never used it because it was all in Korean and it was just easier for me to use the English one. But yeah, I think Shuttle is the best one because you can order anything, like even coffee if you want, or desserts. So I would just recommend that one. It's like an orange colored app. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, there you go. Anais asks, do you know the exact dates for the beginning of class in Costa Rica? You can actually check our website. We should have the official dates for the spring semester listed there already. And is it possible to be in touch with former students of Ulasit? Definitely is. If you've already applied, we could actually contact you, for example, by tomorrow and give you and get you in contact with some students who have studied in Costa Rica or are currently studying there already. When should you book the flight? Darren's asking, do Asia Exchange help with travel, etc. and flights? Do you have certain partnerships with airlines? We do not have any partnerships with airlines, and we recommend you book your flights after you have received the visa document, basically the student visa for wherever you're traveling to. Of course, you can do so beforehand as well. Is it possible that we get each other's numbers, for example, for those who will go to Korea? Shmaila asks, you can, for example, exchange numbers through the Facebook group that we're creating through private messages. We'll be sharing that later this autumn with all of you. And Brian's asking, can you tell me more about the security deposit? I think meaning the security deposit for your apartment.
Well, I paid 500,000 won, which is the same I pay in rent. And I just send it through PayPal to the Korean girl who lives, because it's her apartment and she's renting the room. So it was quite easy, but I got her documents, like I got a picture of her passport and her Korean ID. So like, just so I was sure it wasn't a scam. So that wasn't anything problematic for me.
And it's also important to note that both Hoofs and Hanyang offer on-campus dormitories. So the Hoofs dormitories, if you are going to the Seoul campus, are either the Glow B dorm costing around 800 euros for the 4-month semester. And the international house is A and B. Those are a little bit more expensive, around 1,100 euros for the whole semester, lasting 4 months. And it's important to note that the international houses though they're a little bit more expensive, the amenities there are a little bit better. So you do have kitchen facilities available, for example. And the curfews at the Glow B dorm and the regulations are a little bit more strict, as those are regarded as on-campus dormitories, whereas the international houses, even though they are 1 minute away from the back gate of the Seoul campus, are regarded as off-campus accommodation. And if you are going to the global campus, then the only dormitory you have available through us is the Global Hoofs dorm, costing around the same amount as the Glow B dorm does. Nahati asks, Umeida, do you think it's important to get a Korean SIM card?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I've went 3 weeks without a SIM card. I mean, there's internet practically everywhere, but sometimes when you're on the subway, it doesn't work. So like, I just got mine, but it was just because I was lazy. But you can get it in the airport when you land, but it's a bit expensive. And you don't really need one when you're in quarantine, because like you're not gonna go anywhere anyhow. So like, as soon as you're done, just go to any what's it called, store. They sell SIM cards everywhere here, and it's quite easy to activate. So yeah, I think it's pretty important with the internet.
Yeah. And I think we're 5 minutes over time here. So I'll ask the same question from Marie and Aino. Did you guys get SIM cards while staying in Phuket?
Yeah, I did get one. It's really cheap and you should get one, and the internet is good. So I recommend to take it.
There you go. Definitely. Is it possible to lengthen the visa? I'll take this as the last question before we finish off. For example, the visa for 90 days, 3 months, to lengthen it because of staying longer. So we highly recommend that if you are going for 1 semester abroad, you leave after 2 weeks or 2 weeks after the semester has ended. There is a chance that you will be fined by the Korean authorities if you are staying longer. And to my knowledge, currently there is no possibility to lengthen a student visa if you are not attending, for example, the next semester. So for example, going there for a full academic year. But yeah, I think at this point, we are already a little bit over time. Maybe just to finish this off, Umeida, Aino, and Marie, do you have any kind of last tips on anybody looking to go abroad in general, either through Asia Exchange or us? Any last words of encouragement?
I would just say, like, don't worry, don't stress so much about it, because I did, and I was really worried about, like, yeah, COVID and stuff. But once you get here, it's so nice, and it's like, I mean, I love being here. So just be excited, because it's really fun. And maybe because I can see there's a lot of questions for me, so maybe you can put my email somewhere so people can write me or something.
Sure. What's your email?
My name 13 the
Umeida 13.
Yeah. And
okay.
You know,
At
live.dk. Yeah, thanks.
Umeida 13
live.
at
live.dk.
.uk.
No, DK.
DK, sorry, yeah, Denmark, of course. There we go. All right, there you go. Thanks for sharing. What about Aino and Marie? Any last words before we finish off?
I just say that if you have the opportunity to go abroad, do it. Definitely be open-minded and be prepared for changes. But I bet it's gonna be the best time of your life.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that you don't even know how you will change after that. It will just improve everything about you. Like, you will just know more about yourself. You'll face maybe difficult situation because it's never easy to start in a country that you don't know, but it's always great to know more about yourself, about how you can learn about everything, a culture and everything, and you'll just feel free and live, and yeah, you'll live like amazing moments there. And I know how stressful it can be, but we all know, I think all 3 of us, but it's just amazing once you're there. And yeah, I think that you have to enjoy every moment of it and not stress about it. Not just, I don't even know anyone who regrets his semester abroad. So that's maybe a reason for you to go.
Yeah, thank you to the three of you for joining this session. Much appreciated on the insights, the tips, the encouragement. And to finish off, of course, I'd like to say that it's always easy to go to destinations like Australia, the UK, or the US, where that are very easy, especially for Western students to go to. But also, the further you go, the more you learn. And as long as you go to different cultures, be open-minded, just as, for example, Aina said, you'll learn a lot more about yourself, but also about others as well. And thank you, everybody, for joining today. We will be sending the recording of this session to all registrants within the beginning of next week. And if you have any further questions, of course, you can contact us at info@asiaexchange.org, or WhatsApp, or call us on the office phone. But at this point, we do have to end the session. We are 10 minutes over time. I'm wishing a good evening to Aino and Umeida in Thailand and South Korea. A good afternoon for Marie in France. And thank you, guys. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.